Hello and welcome to this episode of the Dicey Digest, and today I'm here with my dad, and I'm really excited because we have a lot that we can talk about.
We do, but you'll do the talking. I'll be listening.
That's not true. We just talked about how, like, when I was younger and I would go on road trips with my dad, how I would be the one that's da 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 da, and then my dad would just be sitting there shaking his head. Yup. But now I feel like you do a lot of the talking.
Well, with Zelma, she kind of brings it out at me a little bit because she's yakety yakking, and I'll try to jump in there, and she'll go, "Hey, could you wait till I'm done?" You know, like a little adult.
Yeah, she'll be like, "Wait a minute, I'm not done talking yet. Let me get my piece in." You know, I have like a whole list of things that I want to bring up, but I don't know where I want to start. So I want to start with like you and like what your story is, like, you know, how you are you, like how you became who you are as a person. So like, you know, like where you were born, what were your parents like?
Yeah, it's a lot. That could take a while, but
I know. Just like give us a brief summary. Yeah.
Well, you know, I'm Southern, but I'm a military brat, so I'm Southern. You know, and born in Georgia and down near Savannah, a place called Fort Stewart, and then they moved to Fort Bragg. That's where we mostly were, outside of Fayetteville, and went to Germany for a bunch of years. My dad's deployment when he came back from Vietnam, and came back to Fayetteville because my parents are from the West Coast, and but I don't think they really wanted to go back there. So they bought a house in Fayetteville, and so they had somewhere to come back to. Because back then, when your dad got deployed to Vietnam, then they wouldn't let you stay on base. So they said, "Well, you got to go," you know. And so we either had to go back to Washington or Oregon, where their families were, or buy a house there. And
so wait, your dad was from Oregon and then your mom was from Washington?
Yeah, but right on the border.
Okay.
So they met somehow at I don't know where they met, at a roller rink or something. I don't know. But they're West Coast people. But when he joined the military, you know, they moved him around a little bit, and we ended up in Fayetteville, North Carolina, where Fort Bragg is, and it was a good upbringing, though, being a military brat, and because you got a lot of things you go to and you see, all that kind of stuff. But that's where we ended up by the time I got into high school. My brother got the bad end of the deal because he was going all over the place, and he was a senior by the time we got back to Fayetteville. And so, you know, you're a senior going into a school, and that wasn't a very good situation for him. And but I was lucky. I got there in 8th grade, so I got to go 8th grade all the way through high school right there in Fayetteville. So I made some friends and, you know, had the deal there. So that was me growing up right there. Great parents.
Yeah. So wait, so your dad was in the Army for most of your childhood, for all of it?
Yeah.
For all of it. And then your mom, was she an artist throughout the entire thing, or what was Nanny doing that whole time?
Yeah, she was a stay-at-home mom, and but she did a little bit of Avon, you know, if you can believe that, and took care of us.
She went door to door?
Yeah, no, she didn't really do that. That wasn't her personality, but she would talk to friends, and they would invite her over, and, you know.
Like little Avon parties.
Yeah, I mean, I was involved with them. I don't know. We would sit in the car waiting for her, I think. I know we were at the grocery store, and my brother and I were a little bit older, and so we were okay, you know, but my sister was, you know, she was a little thing, and she would make us stay in the car with her while they went in the grocery store, because they didn't really encourage people going into the grocery store with their kids. And we'd play in the woods the whole time my mom was in the grocery store out there in Fort Bragg. And it was, I mean, I remember it being fun, but I guess nowadays you could never do that.
That's funny, because on the episode that Font was talking about, she was talking about the same thing, about how when you were, back in the day when you were on post in the military, you couldn't bring your kids to the commissary. So you had to like leave them outside or like have somebody watch them. So that's funny that you went through the same thing, but you were a kid in that situation.
Yeah, I was a kid, and maybe there was somebody watching us that we didn't know about or something. But and my brother was older than me, so he was kind of in charge, I guess. But he didn't care. He would have ran off if he had somewhere to go.
Right. Yeah. No, that's funny. So after you graduated high school, or like, what was the first job that you ever got?
Well, I always worked. It seemed like, I mean, even when I was, because I was a bus driver in high school, you know,
Right.
back then.
That's crazy.
Yeah. But we were, I mean, it was the top students at the school were allowed to do it. You know, you had to get good grades. You couldn't be in trouble. A lot of athletes would get jobs driving the buses. And so I think we're pretty responsible. But I guess eventually it got to be where it wasn't so good. And they started having to have adults. I think the insurance was too bad or something.
Could you imagine nowadays, like if Jalen was 16 and he's like, I'm driving all my friends on the bus to school today?
Yeah, no, yeah, that was crazy when you think back on it, but it was no big deal to us, and it was, you know, a nice bit of money in my pocket, and I would go clean my dad's store when he retired. He worked at a store for a little while. I'd do that every Saturday morning. And then I was a lifeguard too with my mother at the YMCA.
Yeah.
And so I was always working because I always wanted to have some money, and I didn't want to ask my parents. Who,
Yeah.
none like you.
I know. If I ever needed anything, I know that you guys would help me out. But I haven't asked y'all for money in a long time.
No, I know. I was talking about when you were little.
Oh, yeah.
I'd give you $1, $2.
Well, you know what the funniest part about that is? And I'm going to bring that up. Because when I was a kid, I would be like, Dad, I really want this new pair of shoes, right? And let's say it was like $100 pair of shoes. And you would be like, $100? Absolutely not. I'll take you somewhere else to get a pair of shoes. Now with my kids, my dad took me to go get new school clothes one day. Like, my mom usually took me every single year. But this year, Mom put you in charge of taking me to school shopping. I'll never forget this. I'm going to hold this over your head for the rest of my life.
I hear about it all the time, so.
Yeah, because it's ridiculous. So you're like, how's $100 for back to school shopping? And this is like, 2000 and probably 10. So like things weren't cheap. Like things have definitely gotten more expensive. But like I was like $100. I could get like 2 shirts and a pair of jeans for $100. Like what am I supposed to do? Now you will take my kids and spend $500, just drop it on them. Jalen's coming home with new jerseys, new $150 Nike shoes.
That's the privilege of grandparenting.
Where was this energy when I was younger?
I don't know. That's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Well, I knew your mom would cover. I figured I could tide you over until she could cover you up.
And then you're like, okay, I'll do what I gotta do. I'll do what I have to do. And then Corinne will come and she'll get everything else.
She would. She'd have no problem with that.
That's funny though. Wait, okay, back to where we were. Okay, so after you graduated, you were always working through high school, and then when did you decide that you were going to college? Did you go to college like right after high school?
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, everybody, any decent student, that's what they were thinking about doing back then. Yeah, I mean, I was a good student, so I could go pretty much anywhere I wanted to. I was going to Carolina to begin with, but I loved playing basketball, and I liked playing all sports. I played football, basketball, baseball. I could have walked on at East Carolina in football. I could have went down to Pembroke and played some baseball probably, but I wanted to play basketball. Methodist really the only place that kind of wanted me, and so I said, okay, I'll go there. And it was right there in town, which was kind of nice too.
So did you go to Methodist? So you went to Methodist, played 4 years of basketball at Methodist, where then you became the head coach at Methodist for, how long were you the head coach at Methodist University?
23 years.
So pretty much my whole life.
Yeah.
Like you got that job in 99, right?
Right. And you were born the next year.
That's crazy.
It is crazy. Perfect timing.
Yeah. So, okay, then you graduated from Methodist. What year did you graduate college?
81. That's crazy, too.
Whenever I say that, like, my parents are boomers, they're like, don't say that. Like, that's not, like they're not boomers and all this. I'm like, my dad was literally born in the 50s. Like, he is actually a boomer. Yeah. Nobody believes me. I'm like, my dad's 65.
Yeah, that's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah.
I don't feel like it.
I know. That's like how we brought up the conversation of like you saw a girl like my age with her grandpa and he was probably just a little bit older than you. And that's kind of like a weird thing to think about because you have a daughter. We have a 40-year age gap, 41 years. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
40 for mom, 41 for me, yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, but it worked out, didn't it? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So after you graduated from Methodist, did you get a job right after you graduated?
No. I went to grad school. I went to Carolina, University of North Carolina for grad school, and that was a lot of fun. I mean, it was hard, but it was a lot of fun. But while I was there, I met a guy that became friends with me named Dave Haynes that lived in England. It was English, and we became really good friends. And He said, and I played all the time. I mean, you've heard of the guys I played with: Sam Perkins, James Worthy, Michael Jordan.
Excellent. So we need a time travel here. I am the curious cat, and we kind of briefly glazed over some words that you kind of said softly about playing basketball with Michael Jordan, Sam Perkins, James Worthy. Is that what you said?
Yeah, I was in grad school at the University of North Carolina. Michael Jordan was a freshman that year, and they would play all the time, pick up ball and stuff, and I'd go and play with them too. And Michael and I played softball together in the summertime, so we knew each other. And so when I'd come into the gym, he would pick me up on his team, but if I missed a shot, he wouldn't pick me up anymore. I said, "Come on, what's up, dude?" And they would play down in the Carmichael. They didn't have the Dean Dome yet down at North Carolina. They had the Carmichael, and then we'd play down there. And then when that was over, we'd go up into what they called Woolen Gym, where there's a lot of courts to play on. And none of the guys on the team would go up there and play because they just didn't want to, except Michael Jordan and Jimmy Black. And they would go up there all the time and play just with all the guys, And the courts were kind of organized where the first court was like the best players and the next court was, the next best and kind of all the way down. So you could start down on there was like 20 courts in there. So you could start down like on maybe the sixth court where some of the professors were playing or something, and kind of work your way up to the best court where a lot of the football players might be playing and stuff. And a lot of the graduate students, a lot of graduate students are former players too, like I was. And so, yeah, I'd play against those guys all the time. It's just a little joke I have with my players. Sometimes I say, I went to school at North Carolina in grad school, and, you might have heard of some of those guys that I played against, and I'd mention like the Sam Perkins or the Matt Doherty or the Jimmy Black, and then I'd say Michael Jordan at the end, and they'd all like, what? And they'd think that was, unbelievable, because Michael Jordan, when he was there at North Carolina, he was a big deal because, they were national champions. He made the shot, but nobody thought he was like the greatest player in the whole world, and I didn't think it either necessarily. I thought he was really good.
Did you know him in high school?
No. I knew him at the graduate school.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and I only got to know him. I got him to know him because we played softball together in the summertime. So, and the story I tell is when Michael we were walking to a game, and we were a really good team. We had good players all over the place, and he played left field. I played left center, and we even had a coach, in softball rec league. You don't have coaches and stuff. We were that good. And we were walking to the field, and our shortstop was out that day. He was sick or something. And so Michael's going, all right, I get to play shortstop, because he was very competitive, of course, and he wanted to be right in the middle of all the action. Because even when he's in left field and I'm in left center, I play deep, and he's playing up short so he can go get everything, and I let him, which was fine. And so we're walking the field, and he said, I get to play shortstop. And the coach turns to me, Dave, and says, you can play shortstop today. And I said, sorry, Michael. So the one time him and I go head-to-head, I beat him out.
Nice.
Yeah.
Did you match up against him in basketball? Like, did you ever guard Michael Jordan?
Oh, yeah. But, he's a little bit bigger than I was, so I'd match up with somebody else usually. But, I can remember one instance, though. This kind of told me how good this darn guy was. We were playing a game, and I was on the opposite team from him, and he goes up for a shot, and he goes up just to lay it up, and kind of my timing seemed to be perfect, and I go up too, and because he'd already jumped, and I thought I was going to, get the ball and stuff, and he kind of looked like he looked at me, and he just kind of dipped down and went over to the other side, and I just kind of, dude, how's that happen? Because he's only 18 years old at the time. I'm 22, 23, and he just saw how good he was then. I mean, that was just one little example.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for that story.
Sure.
I heard a little bit of it, and I knew we had to go back and confirm these little details.
Yeah.
Well, thank you again.
Sure. Thank you. So we were playing all the time, and this guy saw me playing, and he said, I think you could probably play up there. And I said, great. And we made the connection, and boom, I played a year in England after graduate school, and then my dad died during that time. And so I was kind of took the wind out of my sails. I just wasn't all that interested. I wanted to move on. And so I started coaching then. And when I moved back to the States, I started coaching, and that's what I did the rest of my life.
And then you got a job in Florida.
Yeah.
Right. That's whenever you moved down to Keystone.
Right.
And you coached there for 9 years? How many years? 7 years?
7 years, yeah.
So you were in Florida for 7 years. Then you and Mom started dating.
Yeah.
And then you would drive. You guys used to meet. She lived in North Carolina at the time whenever y'all met.
We knew each other already, though.
Because y'all went to high school together.
We went to high school. We didn't know each other in high school, but she went to college for a year or so before, and we met there. And so we knew each other. And so we always had a connection. And she cut my hair for years because she went to beauty school. And then when I moved to Florida, we stayed in contact. I'd drive up there and get my hair cut when I'd come to visit my mom and my sister and stuff. And so we started kind of dating at like Christmas one year, and we were married the next June. I mean, it was like 6 months.
6 months.
Yeah, it was. We dated like 3 times. We met like halfway each time, or
you would meet in Savannah.
Savannah once, Charleston once. We were going to meet in, let's see, where was it? Beaufort, and but my sister was pregnant. She had a baby, so I came up to Fayetteville that time, and then the next time we met, we were getting married.
Yeah. That's pretty crazy, though, because so it was like a long-distance relationship, and that was before cell phones. So y'all had to talk on, like, landlines and stuff. Mm-hmm. And so how far of a drive was it from Keystone to Fayetteville every time you would drive up?
About 7 hours.
Oh, well, that was whenever you did no stops. Now it takes you a little bit longer because you're willing to stop for everybody.
Yeah. Well, until you or Mom were with me, true.
You and Mom got married in 92?
93.
93? Mm-hmm. So you guys have been married for
31 years.
31 years.
Yeah. Isn't that crazy?
That is pretty insane. Yeah.
It's a long time. People don't stay together that long anymore, it seems like.
Well, about that, talking about people don't stay together for very long, before I ask you my next question, the funniest memory that I think I have, like 2 of my core memories in my childhood that have just cracked me up for years to come are, my parents had always told me, like, you wait for the perfect person. Me and Dad waited for each other until we were in our 30s, and we just, we were just the perfectest couple, and we just waited and got married. Well, then one day I'm at my grandma's house, and my grandma goes, I think I was like probably, 7? I mean, I was distraught. I was distressed. And my grandma goes, your mom was married before. Like, I went to both your mom's weddings pretty much, and I was like, I don't believe you. Like, my parents, they only married each other. Like, they would never do that.
First ones didn't count.
Well, I remember calling Mom. She didn't answer the phone. I'm crying, holding this picture that Fanfa gave me. Fanfa is an instigator,
Yeah.
She really is.
You come by it naturally.
I know. And my grandma's holding, my mom's mom, she's holding this picture of my mom marrying this other guy at the wedding. And she's showing it to me. So I call my mom. She doesn't answer. I'm like crying. I'm calling my dad. I'm like, did Mom really get married before? And my dad's like, yeah, we didn't want to tell you, but, you're going to have to talk to your mom about that. My dad doesn't come clean at this point. So then fast forward years later, I'm an adult, almost an adult at this point. I'm like 16. I'm working one of your basketball camps. And I'm just, going about my day. And one of my dad's friends, Melvin, he is helping out his grandsons like at the camp and stuff. And he's like, yeah, I've known your dad for a long time. We're just talking about, memories that you guys, I went to both of his weddings. And I look at him and I go, both of his weddings? What? And he goes, oh, I'm going to go ahead and go back to whatever I was doing, and like walks away all weird. And so I like just waited on it, and I went and I called my mom, I think, and I was like, did Dad get married before? Because Melvin told me this, and she was like, you got to talk to Dad about that. I'm not telling you nothing. So then I catch my dad, and I was like, Melvin said that he's known you so long, he went to both of your weddings. And the look on your face was just like, I'm going to kill him.
Yeah, literally.
Why did you guys lie to me about that for so long?
I don't know. It just didn't seem important because, we had a good life, and that was our past, and that was just,
You never thought I would find out?
I figured
it's a small
you would.
world.
I know, especially nowadays it would be tough, but it was, I don't know why. I mean, I guess we were waiting for the right age, probably, too.
You guys would have never told me if nobody would have ever told me. Which it doesn't matter. I guess it really technically isn't any of my business. I wasn't even a thought back then,
No, but I think we would have told you, but probably when you were in high school or something, we probably would have told you. I don't think you were quite in high school yet.
No. I was like a child for finding out about Mom, and then I was like 16 whenever Melvin told me, I think.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Oh. Yeah, because Jalen was a couple years old.
Really? Mm-hmm. I don't remember. I remember the whole deal, but I
it
don't
was
remember
funny.
when it was.
It was funny when I found out about you because I was at that age, you know.
I was worried you was going to be really mad at me, but I was lucky that you were really mad at Mom, so you got it over with. And then with me, you were like, okay, I get it.
I know. I just don't feel like I like being out of the loop. You know, I want to be in the loop. I want to know what's going on.
I know.
You know? So one of the things that I have on this list also is like nanny. So her being an artist and then also her owning her own screen printing shop. Because when I started Dicey Digest, that wasn't even a thought in my head, you know, because your mom died when I was 5. Because she died in January. I was 4. Did she die in 2005 or 2006?
2005.
So I was
January.
4. I wasn't even 5 yet, if you think back to it.
We're close to 5, yeah.
But
yeah.
I still have vivid memories with her, which is kind of scary because I mean Zelma's gonna have vivid memories from when she's 4. But yeah, she had her own screen printing T-shirt shop, but that was like way before I was even born. Like that was like, how old were you whenever she was doing that?
Well, I was in college already when she started. They started in a garage with her friend Mary, and they just started doing it. And it was that real silk screening stuff, you know. And then they got a shop, and they called it. My brother did the artwork for him, and he did Footloose. They called it Footloose, and I mean, you even have the license plate for it now. I showed you that, and so that was really ironic that all of a sudden you're doing kind of the same thing. I mean, she would have loved it.
The modernized version of it. That's what I'm doing now.
Yeah.
But I didn't even think, like, when I was starting Dicey Dye, starting to do tie-dye, even though she didn't do tie-dye, it was just a silk screening. But it was like, it didn't click until, like, I think, like, a year almost into it. And you were like, you know, Nanny used to do this too. And it was like, dang, like, I really am following in footsteps that I didn't even intentionally mean to do, you know?
Yes, it just seemed to be meant to be kind of thing because she had a nice, but she needed to do something because when my dad and her split up back in, oh gosh, millions of years ago it seems like, but he moved back to Oregon for a while, and this when I went to England, so it was been in the mid '80s, and she had to do something. She was working at the YMCA as a aquatics director and stuff, but I think she needed to move out from there, and so her and her partner Mary decided to start that business, and they really enjoyed it. They did okay with it and stuff. In fact, in 1982, when North Carolina won the national championship, they went out on a limb, because I was in school there then, but they went out on a limb and made all these shirts for North Carolina winning the national championship, and they hadn't done it yet. And so if they had lost that night, they were going to be out of a lot of T-shirts. So they took a big chance right there, and it worked out, and that kind of got them going a little bit.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it was.
That's, you know, I do that stuff a lot too. I'll make like a whole round of shirts and be like, I hope people like these.
Yeah.
And then they do usually, you know. Yeah. Sometimes you just got to take the risk, and that's what, you know, gets you going.
Yeah, that's what. And they did well for a while, but you know, Mary got sick, and so they kind of closed the business down, and then she was teaching. She was doing some. She was fine, though.
I feel like Nanny did everything.
Yeah, she could. Yeah, she's very talented. I mean, she was valedictorian for a high school, but then she got pregnant, and my dad got married. I mean, got married and had my brother, of course, and he was military, so you know they were kind of taking care of. She didn't have to do anything else. She wanted to be a mom. She loved being a mother, and so she gave up a lot of stuff because she was very talented what she could do. And she went back to school, ended up getting her master's and everything. So she did all that like online stuff and however you could do it. So it was a good example for me and my brother, my sister, to all make sure we went to school and get our degrees and stuff.
Sorry.
I know. Well, everybody's different, though. We were kind of made that way. You're made totally different.
I know. Even whenever after I had Jalen, I remember, like, we were at Methodist, like, when we were still coaching there, and I had pretty much a full ride. Like, if I ended up to multiple different schools, you know? Mm-hmm. And I remember thinking about it, and it was, like, one of the last times we talked about college. I was probably, like, 15 or 16, and you were like, yeah, and you can do this, and you can do that, and I can get you into this program, because that's when I wanted to go to school for mortuary, like, fairs, and, like, be a funeral director or work in a funeral home. That was my dreams back then. And then I remember one day we were talking about it, and I was like, I am never going to college. Like, this is ridiculous. Like, I'm going to waste everybody's time if I try to do this. Like, I'm going to have to put all my brain cells into school again when my brain cells can barely do high school. Like, I'm so bored. Like, you know, like, for me, it's not even that I'm not smart. It's just that I'm bored. Like, It's boring, you know?
Yeah, well, I know. I got frustrated with you a few times when I was homeschooling you during that time, but luckily you are pretty smart, and you did a lot of everything on your own. You didn't need me, really. I just had to check your work and verify that you actually did it.
Even before I was homeschooled, I remember, like, I struggled in math. Still do to this day. Like, I'm dumb whenever it comes to math. Like, I cannot figure it out for the life of me. Like, 2 + 2, cool, 4. But, like, anything more than, like, your basic, like, math, like, I'm not getting it. And I just remember one night, it was when we lived over by the hospital, over by Cape Fear Hospital in that area. And we were sitting down because I was struggling in math, and you were like, and maybe if you just paid a little bit more attention, like, I'm showing you how to do it. And I just could not figure it out. Like, I was just struggling. But Jalen is a math whiz.
Yeah, does it all in his head.
I know. But he struggles in English, and I was really good at English. So, this is a question that I had for you. Did you always know that you wanted to be a dad? Like, or was that just something that, like, you know, because you waited until you were 41 to have kids. Like, you could have easily, like, started a family earlier, like, something, or, like, I know timing and everything, and, like, you had a lot going on until you were practically, like, 30 getting your master's degree, you know, and, like, playing professional basketball. Did you always know you wanted to be a dad?
Yeah, But I kind of thought, well, maybe it just wasn't going to happen, but then it did happen, and I was thrilled.
Yeah.
So I waited my turn. It was the timing. It was all the timing. But I do. I always wanted to be one. I didn't know that I would be, but I always knew that I wanted to be.
Did you? Well, because even whenever you got your first job, you worked at a high school. You always worked with kids. Like, you would go up and, like, teach, like, summer camps. Like, you always have been around kids and, like, been really good with kids.
Yeah.
What was your favorite part about being a parent once you became a parent?
Oh, just taking care of you and being around you and watching all the things that are happening. And that's the thing about being a grandparent is I get to do it all again, kind of. I get to remember how you were growing up and how similar Jalen is and how Zelma.
Or how different, like, the similarities and the differences between.
Definitely.
Because whenever Mom was pregnant with me, you guys initially were planning on, because you guys knew that you were 40 and Mom got pregnant and all that stuff. And then you guys were planning on having another one right after me, right?
Yeah.
Like, it was going to be like, I was going to be born, and then you were going to wait a little bit, and then you were going to try to have one more kid.
Yeah.
But then Mom almost died having me.
Yeah.
So
we threw that out the window. We thought about the foster care part of it and did a little bit of the work and the background with it. And I kept thinking to myself, I'm not going to bring a kid in and then have to give them to somebody else. If they're coming to my house, they're going to stay. And so I kind of gave up on the foster part of it. And we thought about adoption, but we were just so busy with all the things we're doing. It was going to be tough to do that. And you were enough.
Well, I remember whenever you and Mom were going through the process of, like, those classes you had to take and, like, the background checks. And then I was with a babysitter one night because y'all went to, like, the meeting to, like, try to get into it. And then it just kind of was something that was, like, not too much, but it was just too much. Like, it was too much training you had to go through. And, like, you guys were already busy. The adoption process, they make it so hard for somebody to just adopt.
Yeah.
Like,
definitely.
you have to jump through hoops and have a bunch of money and, like, so I remember that. But it's kind of a good thing that you guys didn't, because I ended up having Jalen. So that was, like, gave you another kid right there. That's what I always joke about and tell Mom is, like, if you guys would have adopted, could you imagine having, like, another kid that was younger than me, and then I had Jalen, and then now we have, like, all of that going on?
That'd have been interesting.
Mm-hmm. Do you think that I was an easy child to raise?
Well, ask your mother. We were talking about it last night, and she was saying, yeah, she was tough on me. And I said, I don't remember having that many problems with her. I got mad at her every now and again, but, I didn't. Her and I were fine for the most part.
I feel like me and you had a very much so different relationship. Me and Mom bumped heads because we both want things our way. Like, I want things my way, and she wants things her way. And so whenever both of us don't agree, it's just like, well, I don't care. I'm not going to, you're not budging me. Then Mom's like, well, you're not budging me. So we just go head and head with it. Even still to this day.
Yeah.
I feel like sometimes I'm like, okay, Mom, well, I don't agree, but pop off, Yeah,
you guys had a interesting relationship, and I just sat back and got out of the way.
You've gotten mad at me a couple times for fighting with Mom.
Yeah. I didn't want you being mean. That's all. I mean, you guys would fight, and I didn't want to get in the way, but I didn't like you being mean to her, and you were sometimes.
Yeah.
Probably too much.
Yeah, it was just because I always felt like I was right. And I probably wasn't.
Yeah, well, but you had a point probably, and that's good.
Mom never wanted to hear my point.
Well, that's what she does, though. If you get an argument, we don't argue hardly, but if we got an argument, she changed the subject.
Yeah. And that was the thing, what she would do with me too. It'd be like, I'm upset about this, that, and the third. And I'm one of those people who, like, if I'm upset, you're going to hear why I'm upset, you know?
Yeah.
Same with, like, whenever I get upset with you, I'm like, this is why I'm upset. Like, acknowledge that. This is what's causing me to be upset.
Right.
And Mom is like, well, people are dying, Gabrielle. Like, there are bigger problems in the world. And it's like, never mind. But I think that I was in the middle, though. Like, if I had an opinion on was I an easy child to raise, I think yes and no. Yeah. Because I have a very strong personality.
Yeah, definitely.
And so, I don't know. I would say I'm medium. For Mom, I agree with her that I was hard to raise.
Yeah, I think with another child, it might have been tough because you would have dominated them. You know?
I would have to let them know who's in trouble.
Zelma tries to dominate everybody.
Yeah, she has to let everybody know that she's in charge.
Yeah, and she has to be in the middle of stuff. I mean, even last night, she was at the restaurant. She didn't want to sit in the side over there next to me. She wants to sit in the middle so she could be next to everybody.
And then she wanted to be under the table so she could be in the center of everybody.
Yeah, that's a 4-year-old thing.
I know. I was going to say something else before I moved on to this, but I can't remember what it was. Anyways, oh my gosh. One of the things that I was thinking about talking about was, you know, whenever we went to Hickory, like, I've came a really far way. Like, when I was in school, do you remember me getting bullied a lot?
No.
You don't remember that?
No.
Do you remember whenever we were on our way up to Hickory?
Well, yeah, I do remember that.
And, like, I was surrounded by, like, skinny girls, like, I was, like, the bigger, awkward kid.
Yeah.
Like, because I'm, like, now still, I'm tall, and, like, anyways, but when I was going through school, I was, like, chubbier, and, like, you know, and I remember sitting in the car with you. I put you guys through some stuff. Yeah. And I was looking at my thighs because I was wearing shorts, and I just started freaking out. But what was I even saying? Do you even remember?
You said, I hate my legs. I hate my legs. And you were hitting them like you were putting bruises on them, you know, and you were having a meltdown.
Kind of like I was the other day about my eyebrow.
Yeah. Well, I mean, but you were, gosh, how old were you? 10 maybe? And we were on our way to my brother's, right, to walk a mountain or something. And
yeah.
I mean, I didn't get it. I was going, what's your deal? And you were just hitting your leg like a maniac, you know.
And then we're, like, pulling up to your brother's house, like, him and his wife's house, and we're, like, there, and you're just, like, and then I think you told Lisa about it, which is your brother's wife, and, like, she was talking to me about how she used to get made fun of because she was super skinny all of her life. And then I think that's whenever it clicked for me that, like, oh my gosh, like, it doesn't matter what you do in life, you're either gonna you're too skinny, you look sick, or, you know, oh, you need to lose weight, you need to stop eating. And that's whenever I had to, like, face all of my, like, body issues and be like, you know what, dude, as long as I feel good, I'm going to do it. Because even recently, like, in the past year, I lost a lot of weight. And then as soon as I lost a lot of weight, everybody was saying, oh my gosh, you're a crackhead. You're on crack. Can you confirm to people that I don't do crack?
Yeah, no crack on her. No. No, I mean, I don't even know. Yes. I think she drinks wine maybe sometimes.
I drink liquor.
Do you?
Oh, yeah.
Whatever.
Vodka orange juice. You're a bourbon guy. I told you this multiple times. My drink of choice is a Moscow Mule.
Oh, that's right.
We've talked about this.
Yeah, but those are like fancy drinks. You know, I just drink a bourbon with a little ice in it.
Yeah. I still want to have... Oh, my gosh. Wait, Mom's going to be mad at us for talking about this. Wait, okay, we're going to circle back. I need to write this down because I want to talk about Gatlinburg. But before we get that far into it, Gatlinburg, remember?
Maybe you ought to wait till she comes on to talk about Gatlinburg. I know,
maybe I should wait. The time that I gave Mom an edible and oh my gosh. I did drug my mom one time. And I thought that everyone was going to kill me on that trip. Cody was mad at me. You weren't mad at me, but I could tell that you were like...
I was concerned. I didn't know who was who. You know, my mom was out of it, and you were probably on your way. Good grief. You know, and the kids were there.
Oh my God. It's legal. It was legal. I bought it on the side of the road.
Yeah, that was probably not a good thing.
Okay, so what I have written down, like, me coming to you and telling you about me being pregnant with Jalen, right? And I will never forget that day. That was the most awkward day of my life. Like, I've reflected on it before coming on this podcast. Like, the day that I told you I was pregnant with Jalen, I remember Mom had already known for like a week. And Mom wanted me to hide my pregnancy from you until like right before. Like, I was like, until I started showing. Like, she wanted me to hide it from you until, like, you know, that we couldn't hide it anymore. She's like, no, like, Dad's in the middle of basketball season right now. You're going to stress him out. Like, it's not going to be good, like, all this stuff. And, like, he's about to have all these things. And, like, you cannot tell Dad. Whatever you do, do not tell Dad. And I just remember going to Mom, and we were all just, like, home that day for some reason. And I was like, I'm going to literally explode with some anxiety or, like, whatever. I have to tell Dad. So, like, we all sat down on the couch, and I was like, you're like, what, are you on drugs? Or you get caught with drugs or something? Or what did you do? And I was like, no, I'm pregnant. What went through your head when I was 13 and said that?
That's one of those times I was in shock. I didn't know what to say, what to do. Initially, I was a little mad. I was going to talk to my neighbor and go visit.
Oh, the cop neighbor?
Yeah. I said I'd make sure he was with me when I confronted Jalen's dad. And, it was going to be ugly.
Yeah.
But luckily, I'm a pragmatic guy, and so after we went for that long walk, and
that walk was the awkwardest walk of my life.
I know.
Nobody said anything.
I know, but we needed it because I needed to figure it out in my head what I was going to do.
Why did I have to go on that walk?
Well, you were the reason.
It was me, you, and Mom.
Yeah.
And we're all silently walking probably like, what, quarter mile, half a mile around the neighborhood.
Well, I think you guys were communicating a little bit. I was just so shocked that I wasn't talking. And you guys were trying to get me to bring it out and that, you know, how I was feeling and stuff. And I just was so mad.
That was the thing that you used to do even when I was a kid, though, is as soon as I made you mad, that's it. No more words for you.
Oh, I had to process everything,
I'm not talking
I guess.
to you. There was a time you didn't talk to me for a whole week.
Nah.
Yeah. You would sit and you would look at me while you're reading your paper, and then I'd say, all right, I guess we're not on talking terms yet.
I don't think it was a whole week. There's no way.
It was at least 4 days.
Your 4 days sometimes are
It was
embellished.
4 consecutive days.
I
But
doubt it.
anyways, so you were processing on our walk whenever you found out that I was pregnant. But I don't remember, like, I blocked a lot of that part out. Like, the beginning of all of that, like, me telling you after I told you, I remember I finished my 7th grade year because I was in 7th grade. Mm-hmm. And then I was homeschooled by you for 8th grade. But I don't really remember, like, because I remember a lot of it was just, you know, hiding the fact that I was pregnant for a long time. And just I stayed home and I did my schoolwork, and my cousin Kareen would come pick me up. I kind of lost all my friends after that because I had a solid group of friends. At that point in my life, I had kind of got over the bullying phase of life, and I was kind of like one of the more popular and cooler kids at school, and like people knew who I was. And then I dropped off the face of the planet. Then I was locked up in the house for a year, pregnant.
Yeah. I mean, you were with me a lot because you'd come up to Methodist and wearing your sweatshirt, and nobody knew. I mean, I remember the day before you went in to have Jalen, it was during basketball season because he was born on, January 23rd. And so we had a game the night before.
Yep.
And so after the game, I came in at the locker room, and I might get a little choked up, but I sat down and the guys were all around. I think we won the game, so that was good. And I said, I got some news to tell you. And they were all like looking at me because I think they thought something was wrong with me and that I was going to stop coaching or something. And I said, my daughter's going to have a baby tomorrow morning.
And I was just at the game, but nobody knew I was pregnant because I had my hoodie.
Yeah, and they just were like, I mean, it was the relief from all of them. They go, oh, gosh, we thought like I was dying or something, and I told, and then so that was all good.
Yeah. I just remember the day that, that's one of the things that I go back and I look at and I regret. And I talked about this when I went on Bunny XO's podcast. I don't know if you've ever watched that one. Have you?
I've watched some of it, just whatever you've
The
sent
clips,
me.
yeah. But like one of my biggest regrets from that day that I went in to go have Jalen was that, I got to pick one person to go in with me. And at the time, and I do think that it was good that I let, his dad experience that and like, but I don't know for some reason because he wasn't with me for majority of the pregnancy just because, well, he didn't want to be anymore, And so then I made the choice a week before Jalen was born. He decided, I want to be there. I want to be involved in all this stuff. And then I let him be there. And it was like, not that I regret it because there's nothing, I don't want to live with like the regret and like wishing that I would have done it a different way. But I do wish that I would have had you come in because I think that, but you got to hold him first, I think. You were one of the first people to hold him.
Yeah.
Right out.
Yeah, I was mad at you about that a little bit. But I understood. I can live with it.
In the moment, it felt like I was doing the right thing. But then looking back, you have to think, my brain was 13 years old. Isn't that crazy?
Crazy.
I tell, like, Elijah and Jalen, like, I've talked to them about him. And, like, Elijah, a year from now, I had Jalen. Like, you don't realize how, like, scary life can be. Like, you guys just have to, like, be kids,
Yeah.
But thinking back to it, I do have a lot of, like, regrets and stuff. But, everything did work out. And it turned out the way that it should.
It did. I don't have any regrets either.
So what was it like having a 13-year-old in charge of a baby in your house when you were that young? When I was that young.
Well, I don't know that you were in charge, but you took care of him, but you had, your mom and I, and Corrine helped you a lot too.
But do you think that, like, so you remember after I had Jalen, I think Mom and you took maybe a couple days off work, maybe. Because I was in the hospital for a little bit. You stayed one night with me at the hospital. Then Jalen's dad stayed the night. And I think it was just you and Jalen's dad that stayed with me at the hospital. Then I came home. I think you and Mom took a couple days off work, but then y'all went back to work. And I was home every single day with Jalen. And I cannot, like, grasp the fact that I was 13 taking care of a baby by myself. I have videos still on my phone of this day of me home alone with Jalen, like, dressing him up in these little costumes and like taking pictures and like painting his feet and doing crafts with his feet and like taking him all over the world, like on the days where Corrine would come and she would help me with him or like take me out to go do whatever I needed to do or give me rides because I didn't have a car.
You didn't drive, no.
So Corrine would have to come pick me up and like take me to Jalen's doctor's appointments. I remember Fafa was coming and picking me up with Jalen and like taking me to doctor's appointments with him and stuff. And like, did that ever like worry you? Were you guys ever like worried, like, oh my gosh, like, what if she drops him or what if she hurts him? Or
I think the whole mother thing kicks in for you, and I think you were as good a mother as any other mother would be because it was your kid, and we were just there to support you and and be there as much as we could, and and luckily we had Corrine helped a lot, and Jalen, Fonfai helped a lot, and I think Larry helped some during that time, not for long, but for a while, and so that wasn't. And then of course,
Faye and John
jumped in pretty quick after that, and they helped a lot. So
John every single Wednesday. Every Wednesday. Once I went back to school, I think after Jalen was like 6 months, because when he was a little baby, he didn't really leave. Like he had to stay because he was so little. Yeah. I think he was like 5 or 6 months, and then Faye and John started getting him every other weekend just because, one, it gave like everybody a break, and two, they deserved time with him too because, they wanted him and they had fun with him.
Oh, yeah. They loved him.
Yeah. And so that's whenever they started doing that. And then that continued up until when? Up until Jalen probably started going to preschool.
Yeah.
And I joined the Army. That's another whole thing. Yeah.
Don't get me started on that. How long were you at basic training?
10 weeks.
The worst 10 weeks of my life.
Why?
Well, because you weren't there.
I think that, I don't think it was the worst 10 weeks of my life, but I was a wreck through basic training.
But you were doing it all. And we never saw you. I went through the computer looking for pictures for you for hours, it seemed like, just to get a glimpse. And, yeah, it was terrible.
Yeah. Well, I think that I definitely made the right choice by going in for a little bit.
Yeah. I thought it was great for you to do it. I was okay with that part, but I wish I could have seen you or visited you or something or called you even. We didn't have any contact until, the 6-week point?
I
And
think
they
it was
let you call us?
Yeah, 6 weeks in, they let me have a phone call home. And I remember that first call home. But I think for me, it was like right before I left, Jalen had understood like where I was going, but he was so young at the time. He was like 3. He understood that I was going to be an Army man. That's what he said. Mommy's going to be an Army man. And then when I was leaving that day, I just remember like walking into that MEP station and just being like, I cannot think about Jalen right now or I'm going to literally lose my mind. Like I'm going to lose it. And then I was fine up until I got there. And then once I got to like the in-processing where they leave you in that barracks room and you're alone with your thoughts and you're not sleeping. And I just remember being like, what am I'm literally like, this is the worst choice. I almost wanted to just like quit, but then I couldn't quit because even if I quit, I would still be there for weeks before they sent me back. And I was just like, I just got to get this over with. I remember laying in bed, like thinking like, what am I doing? Like at night, like just like, what am I doing here? But you and Mom sent me so many pictures. Mom would print out pictures of things that Jalen was doing and the crafts that y'all were making. She would send me pictures that he was drawing. Like, it was good getting that. But then I would get those and get depressed. You know, I'm like, why are you sending me this? It's like,
I just wanted you to be involved as much as possible, I guess.
But I felt so, and I appreciated it. But at the same time, I was like, I want to go home.
Yeah.
And thankfully, I got Fort Bragg as my duty station because they were trying to send me to Korea.
I know. I was really panicking.
Yeah, and I was like, and then they tried to send me to Hunter Army Airfield, which was not very bad. It was like 2 hours. But when I got the Korea thing, I was like, well, then I'm bringing Jalen with me. I remember being like, well, I'm bringing him with me. And then you guys were like, to Korea? Like, you're bringing him to Korea? And then it became a thing where I don't even know if I could bring a family member with me. And so I was panicking, but thankfully I got Fort Bragg.
Yeah.
And that was what really was my saving grace, because if I wouldn't have got Fort Bragg, I would have been an actual mess, because that's where I'm from. You know, I got stationed right back in my hometown.
I know. Yeah, that's a real panic time. But I was trying to figure it out because I think you were telling me, you were saying it was Korea, Germany, Hunter, and I think Fort Campbell, actually.
Fort Hood.
Oh, Fort Hood. But I knew there was, and I was going, how's she going to be there? I didn't know how that was going to work.
There were only like 2 people, I think, in my entire people going through AIT who got Fort Bragg. And I was like, how did I get this lucky?
Well, lucky. Well, I think Jalen was a factor in that with your sergeant, right?
Yeah, when I first got my orders, it was all messed up. And I think I was crying to that first hour. I was like, you don't understand. Like, I'm 17. I literally have an almost 4-year-old back home. If I don't get back to Fort Bragg, I'm literally going to miss more of his life. And like, da-da-da-da-da. And then he was like, let me see what I can do. And then I checked my orders like 2 days later, and it said Fort Bragg, North Carolina. And I was like, oh my God. I remember calling you guys and being like, I'm getting sent back home. Like, I'm getting Fort Bragg. And that was like my entire saving grace right there.
Yeah, I agree, man. I was so happy.
But as soon as I got pregnant with Zelma, even though the military was really good for me and I enjoyed being in, like I enjoyed my job, other than like, there were definitely some pretty traumatizing things that happened in the Army. Like, I hated being in the Army some of the times just because everybody's a pig in the Army. Like, literally, like everybody kind of sucks. But being in the Army was really good for me developmentally wise. I feel like for my brain and like for my morals and like for like how I perceive life, and like it built structure in my life. Like, it gave me more structure than I've ever had. But once I got pregnant with Zelma, I knew that I didn't want to be in anymore, just because I had already like, even though I joined the Army to like better myself for me and Jalen, I feel like it kind of like almost set me back because I was working so much, like way more with no extra pay. You know, I'm still getting the base pay. And I'm getting off of work at like 9 p.m. every night and like missing a lot of stuff. Now I couldn't see myself doing a job like that just because I would miss so much of my kid's life, you know?
Yeah. Well, I think that's something that you have to deal with as a military person. I think my dad missed some stuff because of that, because he was deployed or whatever. But he got out of doing a lot of the military stuff, and he started working with youth, and that helped a lot so he could be around us a lot more.
Yeah, that was like, you know, I took all my chances getting out of the Army and moving here, which was a whole nother thing. Like, getting out of the Army and moving here from Fayetteville was just like terrible. Well, not terrible, but we were broke for one. Like we had no money. Me and Cody had just gotten out of the Army. Cody had quit his construction job back in North Carolina. So we were moving here just like he's getting hired at a new job. We're completely starting over. I'm at home with 4 kids through COVID. And then it all worked out.
Yes.
Like it all like fell into place. Like what I'm doing now, I can take my kids to do whatever I'm doing, you know, like whether I'm working at Dicey Digest or whether I'm doing something for the podcast. Like if my kids really had to be here, they could be sitting behind the screen somewhere or like, you know.
Yeah, it's worked out, but that was a rough 2 years for me and your mother.
Yeah.
It's still rough for her, but I couldn't take it. COVID, and, well, you know, the 2 reasons that I moved up here is because of COVID. I'd had it with that and how people was handling it, and then the grandkids and you being up here. I said, okay, we're making a decision here, and I can't stay away any longer.
Well, that was like when I was pregnant with Zelma, then I had told you like, well, hey, after I have Zelma, we're going to stay here until I have Zelma. And then, you know, we're going to try to move like 2 months after she was born. It was in January. It was like right before Jalen's birthday. It was over Christmas. We were like, okay, we're definitely just going to go ahead and make this move. Our lease was ending on the apartment that we were in. And we were like, we're just going to go ahead and move. Cody's kids are up here and all that. And you and Mom are like, well, you're going to leave Jalen with us, right? You're like, you're not going to take him, are you? And I was like, I'm not going to leave him. No, he's coming with me. And then that was a whole thing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, our minds weren't working right back then,
No,
I don't
it's not
think.
that they weren't working right. I just think that it's, you know, it's not a common occurrence where you have a kid that's 13 that has a kid who you're like every day actively involved with, get to see whenever you want, you know, get to do stuff with. He's coming to your school with you and like, you know, watching you coach and super involved. He loved you guys, you know, still does. But it's just like, it was just not, you know, a natural thing. I guess it would have like, if Jalen was like, I don't want to go, you know, if like Jalen was like, I don't want to go, I want to stay with Coco and Bampy, like maybe that would have like skewered my mind a little bit.
Yeah.
But he wanted to go.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I don't think he realized the distance, and
Yeah.
he didn't realize that he wasn't going to see us as much.
But we talked about like you all the time though. Like it was like every day.
Well, you know what saved us was FaceTime.
Yeah.
That's probably what saved us more than anything.
Because anytime he missed you guys, he could FaceTime you.
Mm-hmm.
You were a FaceTime call away. But it still really was hard. Like I have the memory of you engraved in my head that day that I left, of you being like, don't go. Like we had our moving trucks were packed up. Like we're going in the car and you're at the car like, do not go. Like don't leave. And I was just like, I have to go. Like I have to go. Yeah. That was hard.
Yeah. Well, luckily Mom went with you. So that was.
No.
I mean, it was. For me, it was good because I knew she was with you guys.
Mom should not have came. Mom was even more of a mess than you.
Yeah.
She was fine up until we got here, and Mom didn't like the area that we were moving to. And so Mom...
She wouldn't have liked anywhere you went, I don't think. You could have moved into a mansion, and she would have said, eh.
And Mom was like... we get there and she was like, oh my gosh, like just spiraling. As we're unloading the truck, I remember like we were getting there, Mom like fell and she was just she was just a whole mess. Like she fell while she was helping me move and she's crying and then she just like snaps on me and she's just like going in on me, telling me that like I should not be taking Jalen with me and stuff. Like pretty much telling me like I had a whole nother kid, like I have Zelma now. And so like, why can't y'all keep Jalen? And I'm like, because... Jalen needs me, you know? And so everything was fine after I was here for about a year, but nothing felt like normal. It still doesn't feel normal because Mom isn't here. Like I get depressed about that a lot just because I know that she misses us and like that she wants to be here and stuff.
Yeah.
But once you moved here, I mean, that was definitely like like, okay, now I have one more person here. Now we got to get Mom here.
Yeah. That was a big move. I mean, you know, I did ever envisioned myself retiring. I figured I'd coach until I just keeled over, just my mind, and then COVID hit, and that spurred me on. And then you moving up here, I said, I think I'd rather be with Jalen than coach more
Not
than
me,
anything.
Jalen.
Well, all of y'all, I guess, but that was kind of the crux of it. Because I always knew that you would be fine after you went in the military. I think I said, whatever she does, she's gonna be okay. I mean, she knows that I'm gonna be somewhere she can get to me, but I just felt like Jalen didn't have somebody to lean his head on. You know, I'd see pictures of y'all, and you'd have Zelma, and she was a handful, of course, and of course McKinley and Elijah had Cody, and there was Jalen. What was he supposed to be doing? You know,
Jalen's just doing Jalen.
I know, but I said if I'm there, he could at least lean on me. And
is it weird for you, like after you've been here for so long, to see the dynamic between me and Jalen now? Like, did you realize like back then how close we were, or did you think that he was just like? Did you think he didn't like me?
No, he loved you so much. He adored you. And he still does, and so he's just going through that this phase now where he likes being around you a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, he doesn't Bampy. I'll go there if you want me to.
The first year that you moved here, it was like not a reunion, but like kind of like a reunion. Like now he has his Bampy back. Like, you know, all the things that you guys used to do when we lived in North Carolina, he got to do all over again. Like, oh, I can get Bampy to do this with me and do this with me and go play basketball with me and do this with me. And then, you know, you've been here for so long now. He's like, well, Bampy lives here. So, you know.
Yeah. Well, and your emphasis and for me helping is more with Zelma too, because that's where you need the help more. He doesn't need a lot of help. He just needs.
And you're over
football
here,
season, it'll change a little bit.
You're like, and I just want to hang out with Jalen. No, but I don't think that if you wouldn't have moved here when you did, you kind of moved here with perfect timing, because I definitely wouldn't have been able to open the store.
Yeah.
Like, if you wouldn't have moved here, because I don't trust anybody with my kids. Like, sometimes I'm even questionable with you. I'm like, Dad, what are you doing right now? You know? But, like, if I didn't have somebody who I knew that I could, like, trust, like, I know no matter what, like, my kids are going to be fine with you. If I had to leave them with you for a month, God forbid, like, sometime, I know that they'd be fine. Like, I'd come back in a month and they'd be good. But, like, it's hard to find people that you trust with your kids. And I'm thankful enough to have parents who, like, want to be involved, because you hear a lot of people saying, like, oh, my parents don't help. My parents don't want my kids and stuff. And I'm like, can't relate. My parents would literally steal my kids if I let them, you know?
Yeah. I don't get it either. I look at people that don't want to be involved with their grandkids, and I'm going, you're missing out, dude. You know, come on.
Yeah.
So.
But, yeah, no, I think that Jalen and I definitely over the past, I would say it's like the past, since we've moved here, me and Jalen's relationship has just turned into like.
Yeah, it's been good.
We're almost like siblings, but not. Like, he knows that I'll get him. But we fight like siblings. And I think it's because our age gap is 40 years.
Yeah.
So you were always like, you know, a grandparent kind of. Like, you babied me and you were chill. You're one of the chillest people I've ever met in my life.
Well, I've heard that from you and your friends a lot.
Yeah,
so.
like, you are in virtually your own world 24/7. Like, I could be having a panic attack and you're like, yeah, well, you know, there's this really good place to eat down in Covington, and you should go check it out sometime. And I'm looking at you like, Dad, did you hear anything that I just said? Like, I'm having a mental breakdown, and you're like, in the Bourbon Bar every Wednesday night. And I'm like, oh my God, like, how are you so chill about everything?
I know. And I don't even smoke.
I know. Everybody thinks you're a stoner. Have you ever smoked in your life?
Yeah, you know, I grew up in the 70s and 80s, shoot.
But you never,
but
like...
No.
I don't even remember
and
you...
I would never get any of it. It would be somebody had it, and they say, hey, try this or something. I say, I'd rather drink a beer, I guess.
That's risky business.
Yeah, really. I mean, I grew up in the time when cocaine was big and stuff, and I'd had friends say, oh, you got to try this, you got to try this. And I said, no, that ain't happening, you know.
Never in your life?
Oh, no.
Ever?
Not
even back when it was good?
No, never. I wouldn't even. It was too scary for me. You know, I didn't want to be out of control ever.
I don't think that makes you out of control.
Well, I didn't want to take that chance.
Oh, I guess, I mean, like, we're kind of all over the place, but it is what it is. Like, finishing school with Jalen, do you think that was hard for me or easy for me? Like, after I had Jalen and I still had, you know, 8th grade, 9th grade, 10th grade, 11th grade, and 12th grade. Do you think that was a hard thing for me to do? Or do you think I kind of flew through it with ease?
You seem to be doing okay in 9th and 10th grade anyway. And then when you decided to homeschool in 11th grade, I thought that was interesting. But I think that was the time you had already in your mind thought about the military.
Yeah.
And you were talking about it, because then when you came to me and said, hey, listen, if I can finish all this in the next year, and when I turned 17 and will you let me join the military? And I didn't think that was happening. And so I said, I was thinking, yeah, I'll do that. And
then boom, I did it.
Yeah, I know. Little did I know.
And then I remember you're like, you were walking into the recruiters, and I needed those signatures, and you were like, wait a minute, you're for real about this?
I know. I could have assumed you. I was assuming you were probably going to change your mind. You would say, nah, I don't really want to do that. And
well, at first it was the Marines. I was trying to go into the Marines as like a mechanic, same thing. But when I went to the Marines and I talked to them, they said, you can pick your job, but like you might not get it. Like we can kind of put you anywhere. So like I could join as an MOS, like, as a mechanic, but they could make me a cook.
yeah.
Like, and that's just how it is. The Army is the only one who you're guaranteed, like if you join with your ASFAB scores at a certain thing and that MOS is available, you're guaranteed to get it as long as you pass all the training for it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you were doing it all. I was just kind of showed up and went with you sometimes, but you did it all. So I trusted you were, making the choice that you wanted to make, and didn't matter if I agreed with it or not, you were going to do it. So,
well, not if you didn't give me those signatures.
Yeah, well, I would have. It just kind of shocked me that you actually finished when you did. I didn't think you were going to be able to do that, because that's a lot. I mean, you were really hunkered down, getting all that paperwork done and doing all your work and taking your tests and all that.
I had to study for the ASFAB and had to pass that test, and then qualified for my jobs. But yeah, no, I think that was a good choice on my. But what did you think I was gonna be when I was a kid? Like, did you ever think that I would be the one that like would join the Army? And like, whenever I was younger, like, did you ever have a vision of like what I would be in your head? No,
I just never. I was happy with just having you. I just liked having you, and I knew you were going to be okay. Your mom's daughter. She was going to make sure that you were okay, and you could follow in her footsteps, maybe, or whatever you did, you were going to be fine. I mean, you liked a little bit, kind of what you're doing now, a little bit of kind of like acting, or showing your personality, and you could have pursued that a little bit. You still could now, probably, if you wanted to. Yeah, but
maybe
I was
not
fine.
with my Botox now.
But when you joined the military, I thought that was actually a good move after the fact, because I thought, because there was a lot of things you could do. I mean, I was thinking you might be a helicopter pilot or something, as you had mentioned that. And I said, that'd be cool. Yeah, she'd love that.
Yeah, going to warrant officer school.
Yeah.
Or something like that.
Yeah.
But then I was like, I'm getting out of the Army.
Yeah, well.
Which honestly, good, because wouldn't have had all this happen.
Yeah, yeah. We'd had Zelma.
I probably, I would have, if after I had Zelma, it was just like a wrap for me.
Yeah.
And I think that me and Jalen's relationship wouldn't be anything that it was if I would have stayed in the Army, because I would still probably be in North Carolina. I mean, once you get Fort Bragg, you really don't leave unless I would have got, stationed somewhere else. But it probably would have just been me working, getting deployed, going overseas for a year. I would have missed so much,
Yeah. Well, that's what's amazing about the military and the military people, is what they do and sacrifice.
Yeah. Well, not for me anymore, though.
Yeah. You did your part.
I did it. I think that you've only cussed at me once ever. I have that written down. And that is the craziest thing for me, because you would think with me I have a flavorful vocabulary. But I get it from Mom, because Mom, she has one too. She just hides it a little bit better. I mean, she'll call me F-bomb, this mother effa, But I've only heard you cuss at me one time, and I don't even think that I deserved it. Because you always thought I had an attitude whenever I didn't.
And you're still saying you don't have an attitude?
Sometimes I don't. Sometimes I just it's the way that I need to work on my deliverance. That's what I say.
Yeah, but you were 15, 16, I think.
No, I was not. I was like 10.
No.
Yeah.
When we were at Briar Creek?
Mm-hmm. That was way before Jalen. Way before Jalen.
Oh, that's right, because I remember Christy and...
Yeah.
So
it was way
like
before.
10, 11, 12.
We were standing in the kitchen. I think you were making a sandwich or something. And you had said something, and I was just like, gave you like a reaction, and you just, whoo, blew an F-bomb at me. And that's when I knew I needed to run. And then that was the same day you blew that F-bomb at me. And then you ran upstairs, chasing me up the stairs, and were banging on my door. I called Mom, locked my door in the closet. Dad is going to kill me if you don't get home. Like, I thought that you were actually going to, like, murder me that day.
I was thinking about breaking that door down.
I know. You said that. You said it. You said, I'm going to break this door down if you don't come unlock it. I said, there's no way. I'm unlocking that door. No way.
Well, it's a good thing probably that you did, since I calmed down a little bit. I had to, then the pragmatic side of me usually comes through eventually.
I did not open that door until Mom was in the house, because if I was getting killed, there was going to be a witness to it. But I don't even remember what I did. I think I just gave you slight attitude or something. I remember you used to get so annoyed with me, just like, I would cough or something, like Red Lobster. Like, I was very easy to,
But it's
like,
a buildup of lots of times, and so that was like the last straw.
I was very easy to just, like, trigger you. I always have been. Like, I can get under people's skin very much so. Like, you remember I used to pinch your butt and twist your boobs, like, for years growing up. And I did it the first time.
That was very annoying. I probably hated that more than anything.
But I only did it, like, I did it one time, like, as a joke, and then you hated it so much. Like, you freaked out on me. And so I was like, this is fun. Like, this is funny, So then I would pinch your butt or, like, grab your nipple or something, and then you would, like, freak out every single time until one time I think you smacked me or something. And then I was like, okay, no, Dad's getting really mad about this. And Mom, I remember Mom was, like, working on her computer. I think I was, like, probably like 16 by the time I finally stopped, because you freaked out on me one time. I think I gave you a double whammy. I like pinched your butt and then grabbed your boob whenever you turned around or something. And you freaked out, and Mom was looking at me like, you better stop.
Yeah.
And that was so funny.
Yeah. Thinking back on it, I guess it was, but no, I didn't like that at all.
I feel like I did try to get under your skin sometimes, because you would do that to me, though. Yeah. Like, instead of just, like, waking me up for school like a normal person, you would, like, knock on my door with the door open, Gabrielle, 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 until I was ready to freak out. Like, I was ready to just, like, explode.
I wanted you to get up on your own, but that wasn't happening.
I know. I could have an alarm going off, like, over and over and over again and sleep, still to this day.
Yeah, you're a heavy sleeper.
Yeah, once I'm out, I'm gone.
Yeah.
But that's mostly because I'm a lot like Mom, where I'll stay awake for, like, days at a time, where I'm only sleeping like 3-4 hours a night, and then I hit the point where I'm like, oh yeah, she's gonna start sleeping good now. And then once I'm asleep, I'm done.
Yeah, I know. I've tried to call a few times and no answer.
I had the same problem when I was in the Army too, though.
That's not good.
I remember, like, one time I overslept for PT, and I had people banging on my door, and it was like my NCO, like my sergeant. It was like my first sergeant, and, like, all these people, and they're like, we just thought you were dead. You're not answering your phone, but here you are. And I was like, all right, just getting some good sleep.
Well, I guess that could be a problem if you're in a combat zone or something and you're like that.
Yeah, but, well, don't deprive me of sleep. Shoot. But yeah, I mean, what was I feel like there was one more thing that I oh my gosh, this was one thing I had to talk about you with. You teaching me how to drive. So I got my license when I was 16, like, most people do. And I went through driver's training and all that stuff. And so when I started, I think I was 15 whenever I went into, like, what is it? Like, is that what it's called? Driver's training? Like, the thing that you have to take before, like, you have to take those classes at school.
Right.
And then you have to practice with your parents. Mm-hmm. And then you get to drive, like, the cars at the school. And then you have to pass the driver's test to get your permit. And then your parents have to take you to the DMV. Well, I had just started that driver's training thing, and I had, like, just gotten my permit and all that stuff. Like, you would take me in parking lots. Mm-hmm. So it was the first day that I had my permit and I was allowed to drive on a regular road. And I'll never forget this, because do you remember what I'm about to say?
I don't know. No.
So it was me, you, and Mom in the car. Jalen was already born at this point, but he wasn't with us in the car. I think that we were, like, going to pick him up or something from, like, Fan John or, like, something. And in Mom's car, we're leaving the post office over by, like, on Ramsey Street. and we're about to pull out on the road, and like I'm panicking. I'm not going fast enough. I pulled out in front of a car. Mom's freaking out in the back, and you're like, God, you're really bad at driving. Like you are really bad at, like you are a terrible driver. Like this is terrible. Like you're just like, pull over, like, and I'm crying. Like you hurt my feelings so bad.
I think I was just kidding though, and I was being like a little sarcastic, and you took it wrong.
I took it wrong? You were being so for real.
No, I think I was kidding you, just trying to get you loosened up a little bit, but you took it wrong and I didn't realize.
No, I was sobbing and you were like, I was just joking. I was like, you weren't joking, you were being for real. And I was crying. That hurt my feelings so bad, and that discouraged me from driving like ever again. But no, I ended up getting it. I just needed more parking lot practice, I think.
Yeah.
But I did almost cause a wreck, I think, that first day. I was pretty bad.
Yeah.
That's why you can't say you were joking and being sarcastic. I was terrible.
Yeah, but it was kind of after the fact. You'd made that one turn and the car almost hit us, and so then we got going a little bit. And I was trying to, because you and Mom were both screaming, and I just thought, well, let me just tease her a little bit, and that didn't work.
Now I think that I would, because now I make fun of your driving. You give me heart attacks now.
Yeah.
Like last night in the Cheesecake Factory parking lot, I felt like we were playing a game of Mario Kart.
Yeah, but you're not as bad as Mom. Mom's the worst.
Oh, Mom is pretty bad.
Yeah, I mean, I'm coming up to the red light. It's like 100 yards up there, and she goes, "You see that red light, don't you? You see that red light?"
Yeah.
You
You should have seen when she first handed me over the G-Wagon keys, driving that thing up. Oh, wait, oh, okay. You saw them stopping? Yeah, I saw them stopping, Mom. I have eyes.
Yeah, she's not a good passenger seat driver.
And she's not a good regular seat driver in the driver's seat. She goes to a stoplight and will take a nap behind the wheel. She'll be like, I'm like, Mom. She's like, oh, I was just resting my eyes. How are you going to see when it turns green then if you're just resting your eyes?
And she's always doing something. I mean, she's putting some lipstick on, or she's drinking her coffee, or she's looking at her phone. Yeah, she's not the greatest of drivers. And just think there's so many women out there that drive like that. Like probably men too.
I don't understand how Mom gets ready every single morning. Have you ever seen a day where she doesn't get ready?
Didn't get ready at all?
Yeah, like to go out. Like if she's leaving the house, she's doing her 20-step routine.
Oh, yeah.
Washing the hair, blow drying the hair, makeup.
2 hours.
Yeah, every day.
Yeah.
I couldn't do that. I wake up in the morning and I'm like, I'm alive today. That's the best I can do.
Yeah, I think I've seen her maybe an hour would be the least, and that would just be like fluffing up her hair.
And that's when she doesn't shower.
Yeah.
That's like,
It's
I'm
still
not
an
showering
hour.
today. Yeah.
Still an hour, because, I mean, she has to have her coffee and all that stuff. And if I'm there, she feels like she has to get my coffee, too, because I don't make my own coffee.
I know, which is kind of insane to me, how you still don't make it at all?
No.
At the house, like you don't make your own coffee at all?
No.
Yeah.
The only time I get it is if I stop somewhere and get it, or Jalen makes it for me now.
Or if I bring you
and
one.
You bring me one, yeah. So when Mom's here, she's making it for me every morning. It was just great.
It would be nice if I could be like a billionaire and then Mom could just quit her job. Do you think Mom would quit her job, quit working if there was enough money? Mm-hmm. You think
she wants to be here so bad, but she wants to be able to make as much money as she makes in North Carolina a year.
But what if we were just billionaires, though?
I don't think she'd have a problem then, no.
Because then she wouldn't have to give up her shopping addiction.
But she likes working, so, I mean, that's her joy. It's a big part of her joy is working and being busy.
Yeah, and being bougie.
Yeah.
I think Mom, like, one of the parts that scares her is that, like, she likes her lifestyle, Like, the lifestyle of, like, being able to do things and being able to not have to, like, worry about, budgeting necessarily and, like, stuff like that. Like, she likes to work so much because she likes to maintain, like, a decent lifestyle, which is the problem because me and Cody were talking about that last night is, like, how are you supposed to have enough time to exercise, cook proper meals, take a shower every day, then also go to work, spend quality time with your kids, quality time with your family, but while also spending enough time with your like husband or wife, having enough alone time, having friends.
Yeah.
I mean, and then people wonder why I'm crazy.
Yeah, I don't know how women do it.
I don't.
They don't. I mean, they got to sacrifice something.
Yeah. So that's the thing with me is like, sometimes I don't want to work because I just want to hang out with my kids. But I'm like, well, if I do that, then I'm about to lose money. You know, I gotta go to work. And then it's like, so then I'll work into the point where I'm at burnout. And then I'm like, well, I'm not working this week. Like, I'm just going to do whatever the hell I want this week, you know? So it's just like, it's a vicious cycle of like never having enough time. And then the older I get, the quicker the days go. Are they going faster for you now?
Yeah. I mean, I can't believe it's March.
Me either. I can't believe I'm 24. Yesterday was New Year's Eve, I think. And then today I'm 24.
I know. I just think back, and seems like you were just 11 years old, and we were getting ready to go to Puerto Rico or something, you know.
That was funny. That was another thing I had down on my list was that.
You have a long list there, don't you?
Well, what do you want me to have, a short one? You want this to be a 10-minute long podcast?
That'd be awesome.
Yeah. But no, one of the things was like we went on father-daughter trips every single summer. From the time I was when did you start taking me on father-daughter trips?
Yes, as soon as I can remember. I mean, the first ones were just, we'd drive
Florida.
down to Florida.
Those were fun.
Yeah, they were great.
And we would stay at that condo, your friend's condo. And then we would go to the beach, do that. And then we did that up until, how did we even decide on going to Puerto Rico that year?
You wanted to fly somewhere.
Yeah, and you were like, let's go to Puerto Rico.
Here we go.
So we go to Puerto Rico, we fly in, we're staying in San Juan, and we have nothing planned other than like we get there, we get to our hotel. Puerto Rico was not what I thought it was going to be. And I want to go back so bad. Like, I want to go re-experience Puerto Rico as an adult, and you need to come if we go.
Okay. Can I get those little, what do you call those drinks?
Painkillers.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, okay, we stayed at this really nice hotel. I don't remember.
Yeah.
You know what's funny, though? You booked everything on Orbitz for our trips. Like, you'd bundle everything, you know? Mm-hmm. I do that now.
They're crazy.
Yeah. Like, that was something that I picked up that you used to do a long time ago that I do now. Like, I get the best deals on flights, hotels, rental, all bundled into one. And they're like, you saved $1,000. I'm like,
Yeah.
I bet I did. And my dad taught me this.
I was a little frugal.
Yeah. But I do the same thing. I mean, talking about, anyways, that's another thing at the very end. But when we went to Puerto Rico on that trip, what was your favorite memory from it?
Scuba dive, or
You didn't even snorkel.
snorkeling.
You didn't even do it.
Yeah, we did.
You barely did it. I was off the boat more than you.
No, we both got our backs sunburned
Yeah.
because of it.
Well, I remember when they first parked the boat, like they gave everybody an opportunity to jump off of it. They started making like the food trays and like all the drinks. And then my dad's like 10 painkillers deep at this point. And I'm just jumping off the boat into this ocean with all these adults, you know, just like in a different crowd. You're getting drunk on the boat. And then we go snorkeling. I get so sunburnt on this boat that we went snorkeling like one of the last days that we were there.
Yeah.
And then I had the worst sunburn on our flight back. I will never forget it. When we were there, we ate at this really good Puerto Rican spot. And all of a sudden, my dad's about to poop his pants everywhere we go after that. Like, we're in the taxi. Like, we have to hurry up. I'm making jokes about it. You're getting mad at me in the elevator. Like, it's not funny. Like, I'm literally...
It wasn't funny. I was panicking.
Like, you're about to poop your pants in the elevator in the taxi. We're walking around later that night because I forgot to pack a swimsuit before scuba diving.
Yeah.
We're in the middle of Puerto Rico with no cell phone service. I'm 11 years old. We're at a Walgreens that has no bathroom. And my dad goes...
It's broke. The bathroom was broke.
It was broken at Walgreens.
Yeah.
So we're standing outside of this Walgreens in Puerto Rico, and my dad goes, I gotta go to the bathroom. Runs away from me. I have no cell phone service.
But I left you with that security guard.
He wasn't there when you got back, was he?
I know.
Leaves me 11 years old in the middle of Puerto Rico, goes poop in some bar, right?
Yeah.
And I'm just standing out there like, well, I hope I fit in, you know? I hope I fit in here. I don't speak Spanish, you know? Everybody there spoke Spanish. And then you came back. Thank God. I tell Cody that story, and he goes, and this is why I worry about your dad sometimes, because his thought process on things. But honestly, what were you supposed to do?
I know. That's what I was thinking
You
the
were
whole
going to
time.
dookie on yourself, you know?
It was, yeah. It was scary.
But talking about to you being frugal, I'm frugal with travel.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I could spend more on traveling, but I'm booking the best deal because I want to spend my money on stuff when I get there. Like, I want to make it make sense, you know? So I booked you a flight to North Carolina, back from North Carolina so that you could drive mom home. And it was like, you know, I did it. You didn't know anything about it. But it was like last minute too. Okay. So I get my dad a seat in the very back of the bus, like the very back of the plane, because I don't know, that was just the flight that was available. I tried to get you a better seat on the first flight up towards the front, but he flies first class because what are you guys, admirals? You have a membership with American Airlines?
Yeah.
What is it called?
The Admirals Club.
The Admirals Club. So, like, they're fancy. They get first class flights and stuff.
You're spoiled.
Yeah, you're spoiled now. And so I book him this flight, and he tells me I tried to upgrade it, but the flight was full.
Yeah, it was a packed flight.
And I was laughing to myself because at least you got a window seat. Some of the times where I've flown with Jalen, you know.
No, I had an aisle seat.
Oh, you had an aisle seat?
Yeah.
But you had a window on your aisle? Was there a window?
Yeah.
Well, I booked me and Jalen flights so frugally that, like, we'll be in the very back, like the very back of the plane with no window.
That's almost cruel.
Well, I don't know until I get on there.
Yeah. Is Jalen okay with it?
He just
usually?
thinks it's funny.
Yeah.
You know, me and him will be back there cracking up, and he'll just be, you know, be like, Mom, are you serious? Like, you always do this. You always get us the worst.
Well, he got that. Well, he flew with Coco that one time and got to be in first class, and so he got a taste of it.
I know he told me about, you know, the first class thing. I said, don't get used to it because we don't do that here. Because in my head, I'm like, I'm not about to spend an extra $500 on a ticket just so I can sit up with these people up in the front. You know,
to mom, it's worth it though.
Yeah, I mean, maybe for y'all, like, if I was, you know, maybe a little older and I cared a little bit more, maybe I would fly first class. But for me, I'd rather spend that $500 on, like, jet skiing or, like, you know.
Me too.
What's a destination?
Yeah.
Where are we going, you know?
I agree. I would too, but mom does my flights now, so she'll do the first class.
So now you need those upgrades.
I'll
so
take
that you
it.
can get a little bourbon whenever you sit down in your seat while everybody else is boarding.
Yeah. I try to finish it because they won't give you one once the plane's getting ready to take off until you're gone, and then she'll give me another one. So she'll give me 2 bottles.
One time I got upgraded to first class for $50 and I took it.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is nice. But I didn't get, like, bourbon or anything. I just was like, this is nice.
Well, I mean, they'll bring you what you want.
Is that what you like? You just like the getting spoiled aspect of it?
Yeah, a little more room, you know, a little elbow room. And the people you're sitting next to probably are a little more, you know, your type that you can talk to. Although sometimes you sit next to somebody, they don't want to talk to nobody because they're on their phones.
They're on their laptop?
Yeah.
Do you, whenever you sit coach now, that you've sit in first class, do you ever feel like you're doing a walk of shame past all the...
Yeah. I know, that's sad. I shouldn't be like that. I really don't care until mom started putting me in first class.
And so now whenever you're flying, like, economy, you're just, like, walking by the first class people with your head down so they don't look at you, you know?
Yeah. I just try to think that they're thinking, oh, he poor guy, he got a last second ticket, he couldn't get upgraded.
You're funny. You know what the funny, like, that I have never, like, felt that way because I've never, like, been a first. One day I will probably, like, get on board with all of that. Maybe I'll get a credit card with, like, Delta or something and become a Deltian or whatever the thing is for that. But, like, I always feel stupid whenever I'm sitting, like, the very back of the plane with the cheapest flight available and I'm, like, carrying, like, my Gucci bag or, like, my Louis Vuitton bag or, like, something, like, I'm carrying some, like, expensive stuff with me, you know? And then I'm sitting, like, in the worst seat of the plane and people are probably like, okay, that bag must be fake or something. Like, this girl, like, you know, something is up. But it's just because I want to save a buck, you know?
Yeah, you did get that from me.
Yeah.
And I think I got it from my parents because they were always frugal with stuff, you know, and my mom and Bill and Fonfons too. I think it's just when you grow up that way, you know, you just figure out, gosh, you know, I hope we have a good meal today. And gosh, we can't spend that kind of money. They were like that all the way to the end.
I think for me, it's that when we first moved here and we had all the kids and we had no money to do anything extra, like ever, like going to the grocery store was like stressful. Like, you know, like just everything was so stressful. Like it was so stressful. Now it's like I can save $500 by sitting in the back of the plane. bingo, you know, it's
Yeah.
like, I'm going to save my money because I would rather have it in my bank account for like a rainy day. Like, because what if the world crashes and I can't make any more money or something? You know, like I always go worst case scenario with it. So I just am like, I'm going to save as much as I can. And then I'll splurge on the things that I want to, but like I don't be splurging like that much.
No. Yeah. I mean, you are who you are.
Yeah.
Be a little frugal. Nothing wrong with that. Mom don't agree, but
No, Mom says, and that's what I told Mom. I said, I hope that you guys take out all of your retirement stuff, sell all of your communities, like, not communities, but all of your properties and like just spend it all. Like, you know, that's what I tell Fonfa too. Spend all your money.
yeah, sometimes I think she tries.
Yeah. Who, Mom?
Yeah, Mom, not Fon.
I know, Mom. I'm buying a G-Wagon because it's Thursday.
Yeah. And then I'll get another Mercedes on the side.
Yeah, and then
I don't like a G-Wagon, so I'm going to get a Mercedes or another Mercedes.
no, she bought that one before she bought the G-Wagon.
Did she?
Yeah, you didn't know that?
I thought she got the G-Wagon.
No, she started talking to the guy, the salesperson for the G-Wagon.
Yeah.
Then she sees that car that she bought for herself, like the day before she was going back to look at the G-Wagon, and she goes, I'm going to go ahead and get this one, and then I'm going to go get the G-Wagon. So then she got her car first, loved it. Well,
I knew that, but I didn't know she did that first. Mm-hmm. That's interesting.
She did that first, and then she went back and then got the G-Wagon.
Everybody needs a tax write-off.
Not me, not that big of one. My tax write-off is my business, I guess.
And your kids.
And my kids. Jesus. But anyways, I think that concludes the list of questions for today's podcast. And this is a longer one than usual. You got us for an hour and 20 mintes today.
Oh, I didn't even look at my clock.
Yeah, for an hour and 20
Nice.
minutes. Longer than usual.
That's the longest you and I have talked in a while. No, we talk all the time. That's not right.
Maybe consecutively.
Yeah.
But anyways, thank you for coming to this episode of the Dicey Digest. Do you have any last words?
No, I think we talked about plenty of stuff right there.
All right, well, we will see you guys next time. And yeah, have a great day today or night or whatever time this is for the day. Bye.